And so the six keys is really a complete framework, right? Most sort of self-help or, strategies, implements, all great stuff, right? I mean, it's important. We're all trying to improve. We're all trying to learn. So, but what I really saw was it seemed like all those different strategies were treating symptoms, not causes, right? So what I mean by that is, it's like, oh, I have anxiety. I have depression. I don't sleep well. I'm not recovering well. I'm not eating. I'm not eating the way I should. How should I eat? What should I do here? I'm tired, right? I'm not sure about what my work should be, like all these different things. But to me, they're all like reoccurring headaches, right? It's like we have all these symptoms, right? It's like someone keeps getting a headache. You keep giving them a Tylenol for the headache instead of saying like, why the heck do they keep getting headaches? Right? Like what's the underlying cause of all these other issues? And so the six keys to greatness is a complete framework that I believe I've stripped down into a solution to human discontent. And I've tried to go down deeper and even try to remove, how can I get rid of keys? Can I get rid of this content? And you really can't, right? So I've stripped this down into the six keys. Perspective and gratitude was our first insights event, right? That provides us infinite fuel. And we live with gratitude top of mind. We have the lens of gratitude to everything we do. The second was internal locus of control. We talked about the difference between fault and responsibility. We talked about taking charge and harnessing that power, that energy that we get from our perspective and gratitude mindset. Right? And now we have that, but now we're at the third option, right? The third step, which is the North Star theory. So perspective and gratitude gave us this energy and the, sorry, I'm working here real quick too. It's all good. So perspective and gratitude gave us energy, internal locus control let us harness this energy, but now where are we headed? Right? In life, as we go through, we have to know where we're going. Otherwise, we're just stumbling through life and we're being reactionary. And we're going to talk about why that's so powerful to not be reactionary, to be proactive in the environment we set, in the purpose that we set in there, really have that guiding light of where we're headed in our life. And when I tried to come up with this, it all started several years ago. I actually had my first business, many of you are aware, right, with UFC Gym. And despite all my efforts, we were struggling and I was depressed. I had physical ailments from the stress. And, I'd taken friends' money. My money was all invested. It was a really bad time. But, I got home and I was out at the park and I was throwing the ball for Java, my dog. And as I threw the ball for Java, she'd run, get the ball, come back, run the ball, come back. And every time with just shaking with anticipation, just thinking ecstasy going through her whole body. And I was like, man, it must be nice, right? It must be nice to have something as simple as, a ball, chasing it and bringing it back, provide that type of fulfillment, right? Like Java was really do this the rest of her life if I let her, until she fall down. She wanted to do this. And it started me thinking, well, all right, well, not just must be nice, but how? Like, how can I create that ball for myself? Is that even possible for a human being to find their ball, right? It's the human version of the ball. And as I started looking to other living creatures and animals, I realized that, if you think about animals in zoos, right? I get into the zoo shows. And if you watch the zoo, they'll see enrichment activities. And what you'll find is that every single creature, when they can create an environment and activities that align with its natural environment and natural activities, they're happy, they're content, they're fulfilled. And when they can't, then they're not. And they get depressed, they get sick, they get miserable. So I started looking around and I found sort of a common thread here. And that's where I came up with the North Star theory, which says that every living creature is its most content and fulfilled when its activities and environment are aligned with its genetic purpose. So if you think about that for a second, take like an apex predator like a lion. Lions are happiest when they're hunting, right? They work, they hunt, they stalk, they grab it, they feed themselves, they feed their family. That's where they're happiest. Seals like to swim. Java likes to go get ball and bring it back because she's designed down to the genetic level to go do it, right? Through selective breeding. And, we've created this Labrador retriever whose genetics are set up to go get something and bring it back. And so when it gets to do that, it's fulfilled. And human beings are no different. So we really have to decide then is, what is our genetic purpose? And so when we look at that, well, what drives our behavior? It comes down to what we call the dose reward system, right? Dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, endorphins. That's what drives human behavior. And we find is that if we think back to as we evolved as Homo sapiens from other hominids, what made us different than them? What makes us uniquely human? And it's really the complexity of our frontal lobe, which also allows us to have intricate communication. So we didn't rise to the top of where we're at now because we're stronger than the lion. We're not even the smartest, whatever you call smart, right? Different, ways to even describe what smart means. But we were able to communicate and coordinate efforts in a way that was very unique. You see, humans not only have a need for belonging and connection, but they also have a need to feel as though they're having a positive impact in the lives of other people because we developed in these tribes, right? What got us away from hunters and gatherers and all that is when we started agriculture, we started coming together and we all of a sudden, I'm going to stay in and guard the family while you go out and hunt and bring food back. I'm going to stay here and defend our area while you go to sleep. It was this interoperability that makes us uniquely human. And it used to be that as our reward system developed, it was aligned with how we lived. So we look at something as simple as like sugar, right? Is a great simple example. Well, it used to be, right, that food was scarce. You had to go work for it. And so our bodies and our reward systems developed to prize sugar. When we get it from fruits, right? We get from nuts, we get other things because it gave us instant and easily accessible energy to drive us forward in a resource constrained, energy constrained environment. So now things have switched, right? So that's how we're designed. We're designed for that environment. Now we live in an environment where we can get all the sugar we want whenever we want. So we've hijacked our reward system. And if we're not careful, if we're not intentional about setting our purpose and our goals and the way we live, we fall victim to our reward system misaligned with our activities and environment that it was designed to do. The same thing goes for recognition and group struggle. It used to be we lived with these small tribes and groups. And so we would work hard and we'd give to other people and we would go. And when we would do these activities that led to long-term survival and long-term fulfillment, we got rewarded with attention and recognition. Now, marketing and companies have come in where we've got this in our phones, right? So now we go on who liked my post? What did I put? Right? And we get that instant hit of dopamine. But that's not what we're designed for. This has hijacked our natural reward system. We have misalignment between what we're designed to do and what we're doing. And because of that, we're not fulfilled, right? It's empty. We've set up an environment that has hijacked our dose reward system and replaced what it was intended for, which was survivability, contentment, fulfillment, all those things. And when they're aligned with those things, we get long-term rewards from this system. We've put it in a completely different environment with completely different activities. We've hijacked it with sugar, recognition, and a myriad of other things. Our cortisol levels, we're not designed to drive in boxes at 80 miles an hour, whizzing by each other. Well, we're not designed for that level of stimulation. And that's where road rage comes from. So what we have to do is take charge of our environment and activities and find ways to find new alignment, to find a North Star, a purpose that gives us, that replaces that realigns us with what we are designed to do and be. And the reality is that our short-term gratification has been hijacked for individual reasons, right? But long-term fulfillment and contentment only comes from our social impact, from impacting others. And this is proven, right? It's science. If you take a human being and you isolate it from other human beings, it literally mentally and physically deteriorates. So that right there proves to you we're not designed for that environment. We're not designed to be just involved in ourselves. And that's the reason you have people when they set goals, right, that they call purposes, like, well, once I get this house, then I'll be happy and fulfilled. No, you won't. Once this happens, I'll be happy and fulfilled. No, you won't. Once I hit this goal, once I hit this revenue number, once I get this car, no, you won't. It's retail therapy. It's short term. It's a hit of dopamine, no different than getting a Snickers bar. It's the same physiological response you're having. So we have to replace that. We have to decide and define a life purpose, a North Star that guides us, that isn't about us. We re-engage who we are as human beings when we set a North Star that is about how do we impact other people. And we do that, then we will get rewarded with long-term fulfillment and gratification that lasts, contentment. In Maslow's hierarchy of needs, if you look at the very top level, right above self-mastery is transcendence. And that's how we describe greatness. Within the 6 keys to greatness, you'll say, well, how do you even define what is greatness? How I define greatness is living a life fulfilled and content with meaning. And you can only judge that in your last moment of being alive. When you're on your deathbed, hopefully at a ripe old age, you sit there and you think back about what you did with your life, the risks you took, who you impacted, what legacy you leave, and how you change the lives of those around you. And if you read studies of people that are in hospice care and dying, it's about relationships. They don't say, oh man, I wish I worked harder. I wish I made more money. You say, I wish I invested in relationships. I wish I impacted more people. And so greatness is right before you close your eyes and you lay there, you smile and you say, I did it. And what this comes down to is it's like you think about like a sports star, like Michael Jordan or something like that, chasing the cup, right? It's about struggles and they're struggling for greatness. They're struggling for this goal. But if you set your goal, like if you define your whole life about that championship, you see this with professional athletes all the time. Their whole life has been about being the best at this athletic sport. Then when they retire and they mentally deteriorate, they get into drugs, they get into other issues because they have to redefine themselves. So what we want to do is we want to set our championship, our striving is about legacy and impact. And when you set your sight and say, all right, my purpose of my life is to change the world. And maybe that means at a global scale, maybe that means at your family level, maybe that's about your community. Maybe it's about the environment. Maybe you love animals, you want to treat, but that impact, when you live with intention toward that, you will find alignment in your environment activities with down to the cellular level, what you're designed for. And you can experience a life of contentment, fulfillment, and ultimately transcendence, which means oneness. You are now transcendence, what some people call enlightenment, is actually from feeling and knowing you're a part of something bigger than yourself. Anyone who's been a part of a team like that knows how great it is. For my time in the military, that's what people tell you. I just miss that purpose, that power that comes from knowing I'm part of something bigger than myself. It's what we were designed to do. It's what we evolved for. So I'm obviously not telling you to abandon civilization and go live in the woods with a tribe. Okay. That's not what I'm saying to do. But we have to make sure we're masters of our dose reward system, not slaves to it. So I'm going to give you 4 steps for creating a true North Star. 1, values. You write out 4 to 8 values or absolute truths. Right? These are guidelines about how you think people should live and behave. So maybe you have, the golden rule, right? I believe everyone should treat others the way they want to be treated. I believe mankind should live in harmony with Earth. I believe that we should live in a meritocracy, and if you work harder, you should get more. I believe that the family should take care of the young. Whatever that is. Okay, just write down your values. How do you see the world? How do you see, not necessarily the world, but how do you think the world should be, I should say? Because now the second step, right, that's values. The second step is worldview. So I went through a lot of different ways to, how does someone define their worldview or their reality? Because everyone's different. What I came up with was the SWOT assessment, which is a basic business framework we use to evaluate companies. Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So look at your reality, your worldview. What do you think the strengths of the world around you are? Write them down. What are weaknesses that you see? What are some opportunities to improve the world around you in your reality? And what are some threats to your worldview, the strengths, the values that you hold? Now, what you want to do is you want to overlay those values, the way you think the world should be, how the perfect existence, things that are absolutely true, regardless of culture or anything else, and overlay them with that SWOT assessment of how the world actually is. And then you start looking for, where do you fit into this picture? What are your strengths? What are you passionate about? What do you want to do? What do you like to do? What do you have a natural inclination to be able to do? What can you get paid to do? What can you provide that's of value? And so you start looking at, now you can start identifying, well, I see an opportunity here to improve the world around me. And I have a passion to do that thing. So start creating a North Star based on that. Or I see a threat to what I think is a strong worldview. Okay, then go set your life goal to change that and try to deal with that threat and mitigate that threat to the existence to other people. Or maybe it's doubling down on a strength. But you have to define these things: values, worldview, and then what's your passion, and what do you care about, and what do you want to do, and how can you provide value? Then you can define that North Star. And once you have that North Star, the 4th step is an action plan. So you start at the end. Start at legacy, start at impact. When you're on your deathbed, when you think through what makes you smile, right? Accomplishing that North Star. Okay. Then start backward planning. Okay. So what do I need to do in 30 years, in 20 years, in 10, in 5, in 3? And then you pull all the way back until you have seasonal priorities, which are, what are your priorities right now? But you make sure that those priorities are nested underneath the North Star that you defined previously. Your North Star should be so big that you can only conduct a final evaluation on success or failure at the end of your life. So that's what we backward plan from that all the way back to today. Another version of this, besides the North Star, or something that can contribute to this, it's called a pre-mortem exercise. It's something my business coach does. I always tell my clients do, which is basically write your own obituary. When you're gone, what do you want people to say about you? What you did, what you accomplished, how you impacted them. That can help guide you to identify, well, if that's your North Star, then go chase it, go do it. So, I have a North Star, and sometimes it throws people off a bit with how kind of big it is. I haven't really shared it publicly, but I will today. And you may disagree with that, and that's fine. It doesn't have to be your North Star, right? But I'll actually pare it back a bit because mine's a little big. But basically, I have a strong belief that the Western values that we hold here and in Western culture of freedom of religion, freedom of the press, freedom of speech, some sort of representative democracy, all those government things are very important and need to be the leading values that bring the whole kind of global world order together under. And I think it's inevitable that's going to happen. It's inevitable that the global order is going to come together, but there are alternative ways of being in places like China and Russia and other places that think that that is not the best way to live as people. And we can't let that be the dominant culture. They can't let that be the legacy of humanity, being a totalitarian government or a communist government, someone that sees people as widgets and doesn't respect the sanctity of an individual human life and believe they have basic human rights and values. And so, since that's my belief, how do I contribute to that? How do I make sure that doesn't happen? To me, I think it comes from personally, I disagree with our two-party system. I think there needs to be a centrist third party. And I think that creates a new American Renaissance, a new American Enlightenment that can spread those values to other human beings and create more freedom. So how do I do that? See this backward planning going on? I think it takes a certain number. I've thrown that number up to be $100 million. I think that's what it takes. So what do I want to do? I like leadership. I like problem solving. I like starting companies. I like doing that. And I have a plan laid out where in my lifetime, my goal is to have $100 million so that I can help create a centrist third party, to help create a new American Renaissance, to hopefully then influence the future of billions of lives and the future of humanity. So I'm not saying you have to have that. It could be about nature or it could be about your community or somewhere else. But when you find something like that, what that does for me now, when you have that North Star, is it guides every decision I make. Every day I wake up and I know I'm living for something. And every day that I work, I have a seasonal priority that I set down. I'm working toward these things because I know they're contributing to where I'm headed. I don't end the week or the month or the year and then be like, what was that even for? I know what it's for. It's a big, audacious goal. But then every day when I wake up, I don't feel like it today. It's not about you. It's not about you. It's about others. It's about your North Star. It's about impacting the world. So the future of a new American Renaissance and humanity rests on me getting up and doing my best today for my clients. And when you live like that, you're fulfilled and content. I'm not saying you're not sad or go through hard times or, doubt yourself sometimes. There's ups and downs in life, but that underlying sense of emptiness and human discontent goes away because you're living with purpose that is aligned with your genetics and you're down to the cellular level. When it's done correctly, you will know every day that you did meaningful work that progressed towards your North Star. You will feel fulfillment and contentment every single day. The ultimate goal is transcendence. It's a oneness, this innate interconnectedness with other people in the world and the universe. It's relationships, the exact thing that people in their deathbed say matter most. We have to learn from their wisdom. You have a calling, you have a mission, and you've aligned your environment and your activities with that mission, with your purpose. And that's the North Star theory. And I help people do that in my small group for Strong Leader Society. And I do that with leadership workshops, but those are all contributing from my North Star. So I appreciate you guys coming and hearing me out today. Anyone have any questions or comments on that?
Hey, what did you call the pre-mortem?
Pre-mortem exercise. Okay. Write your own obituary. Yep. Pre-mortem. It's a great exercise, and I have some of my clients do that depending on where they're at with mindset as well. But it's a really powerful tool, right? Start with the end in mind, and be like, and then it's like that'll help guide you sometimes if you're struggling with the worldview and the values.
Thank you.
Of course. All right. What else do you got, guys? I know I dropped a lot on you on this one. What do you guys got? Disagree, agree?
I agree. I think it's, I've not heard the reverse engineer, I guess, process of, finding what you call the North Star and then reverse engineering to how, to where you are now, kind of creates a roadmap that you're doing in reverse.
Exactly. And that's what you have to do, right? And the same thing, we work on like with a business, right? You have to start with what I want this to be and then work back to, well, what's step one? What's the first step to go there,
Absolutely. I think I do that fine with business, but my personal, on the other side, I never thought to use that, my personal, but so that's kind of cool.
Awesome. Great. Well, thanks, Rachel. All right. Well, I'll stay on if anyone has anything else for me. Otherwise, I hope you found that valuable. That is obviously in the book, A Warrior's Mindset, and the more details. And again, if you aren't working with me and you're interested, just let me know and we'll get you in our group and get you going so that we can align that. All of this whole project, everything comes from a love of life, a passion for life. And if you really love life and you appreciate it, you want to maximize every moment. And that's what it's all about.